Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fly Me to the Philippines. Here's again Rob and Chrissy.
Chrissy, the star of the show. Hey, Chrissy, you are one fun size Filipina. And I know the people at home are curious about what it's like to be with an exotic beauty like you.
Like size of what?
A size of a good time. Stick around. Chrissy is going to model her dress for you, and you can guess how much it cost. That's coming up halfway.
You know what? I really loved your size because you have this big and huge, big love and huge patience.
Oh, big heart.
Golden heart.
Big hands. Anyway, we did that episode before. You know, I want to tell everybody, Chrissy loves, like all Filipinas, she loves beauty pageants.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like 1960s America here in the Philippines. So, you know, beauty pageants used to be a thing back in the 60s. But for her province, Zamboanga del Sur, the beauty pageant was on the 16th, just last week. And Chrissy got all excited because the finals were being held, and it's like an hour and a half from her home. And I thought for a moment I might treat her and we would go and see it. And then, Chrissy, you showed me the finalists.
Yeah, I did.
She said, take a look at the finalists. I'm like, that girl's not as pretty as Chrissy. That girl's not as pretty as Chrissy. That girl's not as pretty as Chrissy. Chrissy's got a shapelier body than that girl. I was like, I'm not going.
It's funny, but I was happy hearing from you that there's no other prettier than me.
So there's some differences here in the Philippines, dating a Filipina. And today, Chrissy, it's all about the differences. Like when I was in America and I was dating women in their 50s, and my whole frame of life was different. And what we're going to talk about today is what's different for you dating a Westerner here in the Philippines versus being with a Filipino. And what's different for me being here in the Philippines as opposed to being back home. What's changed? What are these differences? We're going to talk about them.
Yeah.
So let's just start with sex.
Oh.
Give them what they want.
Really? That's the first thing we're going to talk about.
There's differences about the sex. I mean, I was dating women, so that's the same.
So I think you should go first.
I should go first.
Yes.
You started. You teased them. You see, last time we talked, we did a video called Size Matters, and you were getting really close to the edge. This is a family show, and I cut you off. I cut you off repeatedly, and people were very irritated with me because you were about to say all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, because I know I can cut it off. But today I'm gonna share about it, and I hope that Rob will not cut me when I share about this.
Yeah, sex.
Sex. Should I beep our mouth with this?
The word? No.
Not really.
It's where
you like it?
It's the real world. It's 2024. People are having, sex.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Yeah,
what,
sure.
I mean, when you, so you go first.
Okay. So honestly, I have just very few experience. I just had a good experience the last.
Was it good?
Since we met. Honestly, yeah. It's the real truth about Chrissy. So I only have a very limited experience before I met you. So I would say it's the differences. It's big.
Well, let me just quiz you.
I would say I told you about this. Like I never had an experience before to have it every day.
Okay, wait a second. Listen. Is it more fun?
It's more fun, yeah.
For me too, it's more fun. Is it more adventurous?
Very more adventurous.
Maybe. Well, is it more frequent?
Yeah.
More frequent. Is it more intense?
Yes.
Yeah, I give it more intense. You want to ask me any questions?
How about you? What's the difference?
Go for it. What's the difference? Oh, well.
Yeah, what's the difference?
I mean, it's like being with Miss Philippines. It's like being in college again. And, this is what I would say is, when you're dating somebody like 50 years old or 60 years old in America, sometimes you have to plan ahead, talk them into it, take them out to a fancy dinner, get them in the mood. Oh my God. Filipinos, I've only known one in this intimate regard.
I hope so.
Yeah. But you guys have a healthy intimacy. You have a very comfortable relationship with passion. That's what I would say. So I think it's like some people think, oh, Asian women, they're slow to warm up. They're not likely to sleep with you on the first date, things like that. That may be true. But once you get their engine started.
Yeah, I want to share this. But when we first met in Makati, we agreed that whatever will happen, right? But it happened.
But there was a couch in case it didn't happen. One of us was going to sleep on the couch.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that for a lot of guys are curious, if they have been in an LDR and they really have a strong relationship, they're wondering, will she become intimate with them on the first night? And I think quite 50-50. I always recommend they have a second bedroom or have a couch available and let her know in advance. There'll be no pressure, and whatever she decides, that's the way it's going to be. But I think more often than not, Filipinas, they're so passionate. They say they're so prone to say "I love you," things like that. And I think it shows in the SEX department. Okay, there we go. Let's go for another one.
Yeah.
Trash with the new questions. Yeah. Okay, I'll hold it. Yeah, I'll hold them.
Okay, next is communication / conflict resolution.
Right.
Should I go first?
Sure.
Okay. So based on my experience of dating before, communication is it's way better now than what I have experienced before. Since I only had a relationship with a person where we are LDR, I've mentioned it so many times before that we will only have time together for maybe 10 days. That's the longest time.
Your first husband was away in the army.
Yes. And then, so most of the time, our communication is just through mobile phones. And what I've experienced is every time we will have a conflict, we cannot resolve it right away because one of us will make a tampo.
So your husband used to tampo you?
Yes.
And you did a little tampo yourself, maybe?
Yeah, but if I'm not gonna lower my pride, the thing will not be resolved. So sometimes I will try to resolve it and want to communicate, but because it's just mobile phone, he can just turn it off and you can do nothing about it. So that's the differences. For now, if we had a fight or we had an argument, you try to resolve it right away. We will not take it for days before we can resolve it. So that's a big differences, and it's a better difference. Yeah.
Chrissy, we did this video called How to Find a Low Maintenance Girlfriend. And I tell people to be on the lookout for black and white conversation, maximizing, minimizing, shouting, tampo. And what I would say to people is Filipinas have an intensity of emotion. They have this rawness to their emotion. It's very important that you feel like you belong with your family. And that's why, if I ask your brother to come on a bus 10 hours, he'll be here tomorrow. They don't say no when asked. They want to be an intimate family member with good status. And so when you're in a one-on-one relationship, I think Filipinos are very, very jealous, very, very cautious that if for some reason you're unhappy with them, that, they don't want it to turn into a big problem. They might get angry. They may get hurt quicker than you're used to. What I think about my differences in being with you is that there is your blood, you'll get adrenaline in your blood or your whatever these chemicals are that fire off when a person has an emotional response. And I'm always coaching you to let it wash out of your bloodstream for 2 or 3 minutes before you say or do anything. But with Chrissy, she never pulls tampo for more than 15 minutes. And what I've found to be the most important thing is that she shows real growth. And sometimes when I lay it out in a real logical manner, it's, I recognize her statement. I acknowledge her feeling. I give her what she wants. A lot of women, it's not good enough. They're going to be angry at you for several days. They're just going to take it out on you and have tampo for days. Chrissy, when faced with that dilemma, it's like the dog catching the bus. I give her what she wants, and she'll let it go. She'll let it go, and we just move on. No one ever goes to bed angry, but I think if it wasn't my rule, the average Filipino would be okay with going to bed angry because their emotions are so intense sometimes So my advice is, you can have a lot of trouble in the West when dating a woman in her 50s or early 60s. She's too rigid. She doesn't want to live with you. She just got all kinds of communication problems of their own. But here it's more, there's raw emotions, and finding a Filipina who is able to calm down, become rational. Whoa. Oof. Check it out. Filipina on the run. Well, go ahead and check out that video on how to find a low-maintenance girlfriend. Come on back, Chrissy. I'm still talking. People want to see your full figure. Look at that. Full figure, Chrissy. It's fun size. Okay, Here we go. I kept talking while you were gone. Yeah. Do you want to go? Yeah.
Well, I would say women in general, when they want to be heard, and then the other will not want to listen, then we will not be satisfied emotionally, At least if we're wrong, somebody can tell us that we're wrong. And if, somebody will just hear us out. Yeah, we like that. Next. Okay. Jobs and retirement. Me first?
Okay.
Me again. So being in a relationship with someone who's still working is different than being in a relationship with a retired one. One thing is because the retired person can be with me all the time, 24/7. Yeah. Only 6 hours a week we cannot be together.
When I go.
Yes. And me as a very passionate person, I am so clingy. I really like the fact that we can be together all the time. And maybe because I love you too, Because if I don't love you, maybe I would like to have my freedom.
So if you were with a typical Filipino, mid-30s, a peer, what would be different about your life? They would work 6 days a week?
Yeah.
You would work 6 days a week?
Yeah, just like my previous relationship. Yeah. Like he was working far away from home, and then I'm also working every day. So we have our own time in the day. Yeah. And then it's different because when I go home, I have no one to be with. Yeah. So it's different. So now I feel like this is like the most ideal situation that I can ask for in a relationship.
For me, when you date a woman your own age in the West, there's a lot of family commitments she may have. She might have some of her own independent travel she likes to do. She may have her own money, and that might make her a little bit more unavailable, or she might have some things to volunteer even. I was dating a woman who was working for like 3 of the last 7 years, and initially she had 17 weeks vacation, so it kind of worked out well. I was retired, but then she got a new job and had 2 weeks vacation. That didn't work out so well, and probably a lot of the reason that we went our separate ways. Now I'm involved in this passion project. I do 6 to 10 consulting calls a week, and you and I have our YouTube. Yeah. And Chrissy, you've been saying hello on all my consulting calls to most of the clients, and they get to meet you and ask you a question lately.
Yes, because I think I can add value when they will hear from a Filipina's perspective. Like if they will have questions that you think only Filipina can tell. Yeah. I would like to add regulation so that it will make the worth of. Yeah.
Certainly for our platinum clients, it's a regular. Yeah. So what's next?
Next will be family.
Family.
Okay, so the difference now is, based on my previous experience, we are like both family sides were like, like united. Like we can see them both. But in our situation right now, since you're so far, you are from far away land. It's different because, I have this less connection with your family.
Yeah. It's definitely different for me. I lived in Phoenix, and my two sons live there as well. And although I didn't spend much time visiting my grandchildren, that's, once or twice a month, I would visit them. Once a year, I'd go to Boston, maybe twice a year. But now they're, a long way away, and it's difficult with the time difference, and they're still defrosting about you being younger than them. And I have Chrissy's father and his significant other in the house. And I have, so it's really different. And I like having family around, and it's going to be a year or two until after we get married. I'll get a spousal visa for you, and I'll bring you back to meet everybody. But it's going to be probably 20 months at the earliest. Yeah.
For me as well, it's a little bit different, and I think it was like a flipped situation because in my previous relationship I am 3 years older than my ex-husband, so his brother is like in my own age.
It was an age gap relationship.
Yes, it was in an age gap relationship, but I was older, and then his brother was like in my own age, and it is very fun to think that, you know, I need to call him Kuya. Now it's like flipped because you're now older than me, and your daughter and your sons are like older than me.
You'll be the mother-in-law.
And
you'll be stepmother.
Yeah, thinking about being a stepmother of children that are grown up.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, I know when they meet you, they'll love you. I know that.
Yeah, I think I'm very flexible. Like I can fit into like friendship and in my social life, I just like fit in anywhere and whomever I will meet. So I am sure that I can get along with your children.
You can get along with everybody. Okay, let's try
this one.
Money. Okay.
Money.
What's the difference about money? Well, for us Western guys, it's like night and day. I always say, bring your pension to the Philippines. Housing is just your number one savings, and it's just so much cheaper. Everything's so much cheaper. Last night we had 2 rotisserie chickens delivered for less than 600 pesos, and that comes to like $10.80 or $11 or something like that. It's just dinners out, restaurant meals, services in particular, haircuts. You can get Popsy gets his haircut for $1. You know, it's just so much cheaper to live here. And, you know, it's not like falling out of bed. You can't find a property like this if you don't know anybody, and you're not, just by watching YouTube, it's probably not going to happen. But there are really beautiful properties, and there are beautiful places to live where you can minimize the noise, be near the ocean, be near a mountain breeze, and you can find a really great life where your money will just go so much farther. What about for you? I mean, it's a big difference because people saw. I mean, we have this episode where I don't remember what that video was called, where you asked me questions after you ambushed, and we showed pictures of where you grew up, and it was pretty hard living. It was like squatter.
It was a squatter area.
Yeah, and you could see holes in the walls, and it was a hard, and people really were affected by that video to see where you grew up, and so obviously,
the difference.
There's a big difference for you.
Well, the difference for me is very opposite from your experience, right? Because you can tell that everything here in the Philippines is like mostly cheap, but now that I met you, it was like an upgrade for me, like I can't imagine how expensive the food we buy a month, the quality of stuff that we're buying. We don't buy that stuff before. Like I don't do that even I have money, because we're all like very frugal in terms to buying anything because we don't get enough salary. So for me, it's a big difference in a way that is, very, very good on my part. So,
Chrissy, you are wearing this spectacular, stand up for everybody. Let them see one more time what fun size looks like. Give me a 360. Miss Philippines here. Chrissy, what did you pay for this dress?
80 pesos.
80 pesos, which is like $1.50. And the first time we met, I took you to the mall. And in the malls here, they have Prada and they have Louis Vuitton stores. And you can spend money in the malls, just like in America or Europe. And I said, come on, I'll buy you like a dress. So Chrissy was very anxious. She didn't like the idea. I took her to H&M, which was the cheapest clothing store in the mall. And I found the cheapest dress that a mannequin was wearing, and it was 1,500 pesos.
Yeah.
And I said, come on, you'd look great in it, because, she can wear anything. She'll look great. And what did you say?
It's not worth it, because it's just one item for 1,500. Whereas if I will go to a thrift store, okay, I can buy like 10
and have money
pieces
left over.
And we'll have like maybe 100 pesos saving.
And that was the first weekend we met in Makati. And have you bought a dress in the mall for yourself since?
Maybe once, but it's like cost like 500 pesos. That's like the highest price I can afford.
And so even though everything about money's changed for you, you don't buy clothing in the mall. You go to the thrift store.
Yeah, because, you know, it's just the same thing. Like when you wear the thrift store products and the mall product, it will look the same.
So how much do you think you'd have to pay for this dress that Chrissy's wearing in America or in Europe or in your home country? Go ahead and write it in below. What do you got next?
We're done with money?
We're done with money.
Is it money size?
I just want to say one other thing. You know, what Chrissy is interested in is owning a small piece of land that she can build a province house on one day. She was paying 50% of her allowance towards it, and it kind of fell apart.
Yeah, I know.
But in the
it's
future,
so
we're going to look into something like that. Yeah.
Okay, dating.
Dating. Me first?
Difference.
Me
Yeah,
first?
sure.
Yeah. So when you date a Filipina, at least this Filipina, she likes to stay home. She doesn't want to go. And, you know, I've taken her to a restaurant with a band, and we don't drink. So the cost of a meal is half. You'd never been to a restaurant with a band playing before, have you?
Yeah.
Never. And, you know, we tend to enjoy, here in the Philippines, it's kind of a mall culture. So we went bowling one day and we played billiards one day. We go to the beach. Dating is very, very inexpensive and involves more outdoor activities. And, you know, we eat out occasionally, but we tend to do it at lunch. And I think you'll find that unlike the West, how much did you spend on your last date? Go ahead, put that in the comment box. Your last blind date, you took the woman out to dinner. Go ahead, write me and Chrissy in the comment box. Chrissy will have her mind blown away. Tell me what it cost the last blind date you went on, and tell me what was the most expensive dinner date you ever went on with while you were dating a woman and you were not yet in a long-term relationship. So, Chrissy, what's the difference for you dating a Western man, going on dates?
It is more romantic, I would say. Like I never had a date before in a fine dining, you know. Never had that experience, especially when there's like a live band or, you know, something. I told you about it. I think even in our earliest videos, I told about my experiences on dating before. So it was just like and you know, like a normal dating here in the Philippines. We don't go out much, and it's very different now because now you know, even inside the house, I feel like it's a date already because, you know, we eat together, we cook together, and we do karaoke. I really like it. I like that bond together. And what's special about us is we don't need to be out in a very romantic place to make it romantic, you know.
Yeah, well, not when you can sing karaoke. It's like being at a concert sometimes. Okay, next. I'm going to pick one out here. Let's see what I get. Children. Okay. Can I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Well, when I lived in America, I have 3 children. 2 boys in their 30s lived in Phoenix and Scottsdale with me. My daughter in Boston. I now have 6 grandchildren. So I was not used to having a child in the house. I mean, I had a dog. And you know, that was like the baby. But now we have a 5-year-old.
Yes.
And we have help. So it's, you know, a lot of people, I've talked about this before, you know, if you're like 65, I think the sweet spot is a woman between 27 and 33 with 1 child above the age of 3. So you're out of the diaper and nonsense and terrible twos. And I think that's a sweet spot. And now there's all this extended family in the Philippines. So if you live near her family, and in our case, your dad has moved in and he's like doing a Herculean job of driving and you know, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get to be a parent and enjoy children, but you're not burdened with a lot of physical work. You're not having to, you know, do a tremendous amount of physical work.
Yes.
It's the best part of being a parent. Now, for you were going to go to Vietnam and you would spend years away from your child.
3 years, actually.
Before coming home, minimum before coming home. And so now we did spend a year where CJ only visited the first year so we could have our time.
You know, it is funny to think because since I gave birth to my son, I lived like the entire motherhood as a single mother. You know, I didn't have this experience to be a whole family with a mother and a father. Just right now that when you came into our lives, you know, so that's the difference before I met you and now that I met you. Because before it was just like mother and son, but now I feel like my son got a parent.
Yeah, and just on a financial note, it costs roughly $1,000 per year for private school. There's a few books and uniforms and things on the side might add another couple hundred in over the course of the year. So it's a real pleasure having like a child in the house. I kind of, I mean, there are moments where he's, too hard and too loud, but for the most part, it's a pleasure having him around.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I didn't expect before, that I can afford to send my child into a, prestigious private school. Yes. So that's a difference before and now. Next is shortage.
Shortage and surplus.
What's that?
Well, when you're a man in the West and you're looking for a fun size, there's a shortage and your chances of finding it are slim and none. And living here in the Philippines, there's such a surplus of young, beautiful women that Chrissy is quite jealous. And that's kind of a bit different. It doesn't really make sense. But once you truly understand that you're the prize and there's such a shortage of us. So what's it like being here in the Philippines there's so few expats?
I think that explains why we're jealous because, you are like a limited edition or a limited series of movie. People are so crazy about it. And, like a limited edition of books where people are like falling in line outside the store because they want to grab the last, the last episode.
So there's a shortage of us expats. And an abundance of young women with beautiful heads of hair and nice figures.
But you know what? In general, regardless of what nationality your boyfriend will be, women will tend to be really jealous, especially nowadays. The marriage and the relationship got changed, and there's already a lot of cheating that going on right now.
There's social media makes it so hard too.
And the social media also made it worse. So that's why we are now like always having our guard around us. Like when we see a little bit of things that we think it's not helpful and could make a problem in the future, we're gonna like fight for what is ours.
The reason in the West, the 50-year-old women don't break into your cell phone because there's no shortage of guys like you. If you turn out to be a deadbeat or a cheater, there's such demand for. It's so hard to meet a good woman on a dating site in the West. What do you think? Write in a comment.
Okay.
Size. Here in the Philippines, it's like if you took a Victoria's Secret model that's 5'8" or 5'9", and you had a photograph of her, and you just dragged the corner of the photo. You could make the photo smaller, but everything stays the same proportionally. That's what it's like to be with a Filipino who's 5'3". They don't feel short. They just feel like a smaller version of a long-legged, sexy woman.
I have to share this. When I first met you, you were so tall, and of course, you are bigger than me by size, right?
Still tall.
And that time, I was like thinking, is he heavy?
Am I heavy?
Like I was like looking at you. Oh my God, can you carry this guy?
If you had to get me, in bed.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe he's very heavy because you're taller and you are a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
than me,
a lot bigger.
Of course.
Yeah. So what did you find out?
Not really.
No? Okay. So bigger than the average Filipino man.
Of course.
Much bigger,
much
probably.
Bigger.
Yeah. We have talked about our differences. We've talked about how
you made me cry.
Well, you have a little cold. I talked about what it's like to be with a fun size Filipina. For private consultation, email us at
FlyMeToThePhilippines@gmail.com.
Break out of your box. Till next time.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines. See you in our next video.